Have you ever heard of a cult so radical that it combined vegan extremism, transhumanism, and murder? This is the disturbing case of the Zizian cult, a mysterious group that blended radical veganism, anarchism, and bizarre cognitive theories into a deadly ideology. Led by Jack Ziz LaSota, this cult has been linked to multiple murders across the United States, including the assassination of a U.S. Border Patrol agent. Their followers, many of whom were highly intelligent individuals with backgrounds in tech and science, became entrenched in a belief system that justified violence as a means to an end. Stick around as we uncover the dark world of the Zizian cult and how they became one of the most dangerous underground movements in modern history. Jack LaSota was no ordinary cult leader, a transgender activist, and self-proclaimed philosopher king. LaSota espoused a radical belief system that mixed extreme veganism, transhumanist ideas, and a warped view of anarchism. The Zizians believed in rejecting traditional societal norms, including gender constructs, the legal system, and even basic moral codes. But their most bizarre ideology stemmed from their cognitive theories, which claimed that different hemispheres of the brain possessed conflicting genders and desires. According to LaSota, only those who could reconcile this internal battle could reach true enlightenment. The cult gained a strong following, particularly among disaffected intellectuals, radical leftists, and members of the online trans and vegan communities. Their followers, who referred to themselves as the Vegan Sith, saw themselves as warriors, fighting against the oppressive structures of society. Some of them were brilliant minds, including individuals with ties to NASA, Google, and Silicon Valley's tech scene. They viewed themselves as superior beings, detached from the morality of ordinary humans. But the Zizians weren't just an obscure internet subculture. They were dangerous. Their ideology didn't just call for philosophical rebellion, it called for violent action. Over time, their rhetoric escalated, and soon they went from radical thinkers to murderers. One of the earliest known crimes connected to the Zizians was the murder of Richard and Rita Zizian on December 31st, 2023, in Chester Heights, Pennsylvania. The elderly couple was found executed in their home, their bodies riddled with gunshot wounds. Suspicion quickly fell on their daughter, Michelle Zizian, a devoted follower of LaSota. Investigators later discovered that Michelle had severed all ties with her family months prior and had been living in a Zizian safe house. Authorities later uncovered evidence linking the cult to the crime, though Zizian herself initially evaded capture. The cult's violent tendencies continued to escalate. In November 2022, a California landlord named Curtis Lind was attacked with a samurai sword by Zizian members who had been illegally squatting in one of his properties. Witnesses recalled hearing chants and screams from the house in the days leading up to the attack, suggesting that the group had performed some kind of ritual before carrying out the assault. Lynn survived the brutal attack, but his involvement with the cult didn't end there. In January 2025, he was fatally stabbed, and law enforcement now believes Zizian members carried out the hit to prevent him from testifying about the previous attack. If this case is as crazy to you as it sounds, take a second to like this video. It really helps the channel out. But their most high-profile murder was the assassination of U.S. Border Patrol agent David Maland on January 20th, 2025, near the Canadian border in Vermont. Maland was conducting a routine traffic stop when he was ambushed by Zizian members, Felix Ophelia Bockholt and Teresa Milo Youngblood. A shootout ensued, and Bockholt was killed at the scene, while Youngblood was arrested and charged with murdering a federal officer. Authorities believe the pair had been attempting to flee the country, possibly to Canada or another international location where Zizian members had already established themselves. Law enforcement agencies across multiple states quickly realized they were dealing with something much larger than isolated incidents. Investigators started piecing together a web of Zizian-affiliated crimes, many of which followed the same pattern of targeted assassinations, brutal attacks, and a complete disregard for human life. The cult had developed a shadowy network using encrypted messaging, burner phones, and dark web forums to communicate and coordinate their activities. They were also highly mobile, moving from state to state, squatting in abandoned homes and safe houses, avoiding detection. In February 2025, a major breakthrough occurred when Maryland State Police arrested Jack LaSota, Michelle Zajko, and another high-ranking cult member, Daniel Blank. They were initially charged with trespassing, obstruction, and illegal handgun possession. But prosecutors quickly built a larger case, linking them to multiple murders, violent attacks, and conspiracy charges. During court proceedings, LaSota interrupted the judge multiple times, complaining about not having access to vegan food, in jail, and claiming that they would starve to death if forced to eat animal-based products. Their followers online hailed them as a martyr, even as families of the victims demanded justice. LaSota showed no remorse, and, in multiple jailhouse letters, referred to the U.S. legal system as an oppressive, outdated structure unfit to judge superior beings. The Zizian cult wasn't just a criminal organization. It was a movement that destroyed lives, not only through murder and violence, but also by brainwashing intelligent individuals into abandoning their families and committing heinous acts in the name of a distorted ideology. Parents of cult members have since come forward, revealing how their children were radicalized. Many of them were once successful, promising young adults who cut off all contact with their loved ones after joining LaSota's movement. Some families reported receiving bizarre letters from their children, filled with Zizian ideology, strange symbols, and cryptic warnings about the future. As investigations continue, authorities believe that there may be even more victims tied to the cult, and law enforcement is working to dismantle any remaining factions. The case of the Zizians is a chilling reminder of how quickly radical ideologies can escalate into real-world violence, especially when charismatic leaders manipulate vulnerable individuals into believing they are fighting for a cause greater than themselves. What do you think? Was the Zizian cult a radical terrorist group, or just a twisted underground movement that spiraled out of control? Let us know in the comments. And if you found this deep dive compelling, subscribe for more in-depth true crime stories.